Hey guys, what is up? Swim here for Evil Geniuses, just having finished second place in the Beat Invitational Dota Auto Chess Tournament, and we're going to be going over some of my gameplay of the tournament to hopefully help you guys get a little bit better at the game. This is going to be a video geared for more intermediate players, people that know the very basics of the game at the very least, and I'm going to be talking about the build pathing, or specifically how do I choose different races or classes to go at different times. I'm also going to be talking a bit about my positioning in these games, so let's get right into it. So we're going to get right into it with the first decision of the game, which is of course going to be the first hero you pick. So different people are going to have like slightly different rankings on the number one hero they're going to be choosing in a vacuum. But for me personally, my top 6 in order is Bounty Hunter, Clockwork, Anti-Mage, Drow, Tinker, Batrider, or something like that. It'll change a little bit from time to time, especially with patches, but as we can see, my number 2 pick is on the board here. We have the Clockwork, so I'm just going to go ahead and scoop that up, and we'll get moving forward. This is a really important decision to make, and it's really important to kind of figure out like how different pro players are kind of ranking these, because this turn 1 decision is going to lead to all of your build pathing decisions down the road, even in the next few turns. So we jump to a little bit more into the game. We have scooped up an early goblin mech set, and we're going to be looking to kind of transition this into something else at this time. So around this point is kind of where I decide on my first transition point, like my secondary strategy. We have a Beastmaster 2, level 2 Beastmaster that we were able to find early, which is a great early game unit, and it inclines us a little bit towards hunters. We could go for kind of an early game hunter pocket, maybe curve that into like a 600 late game. A lot of options from there, but we also have 2 Queen of Pains and a level 2 Bounty Hunter, so we're thinking assassins at the same time. Hunters has to be better than assassins, doesn't it? Until I have like a level 2 quad. And of course, both Hunters and Assassins are really high-level strategies, being employed very, very commonly at top-level play. In this case, we're going to elect to choose Hunters for the time being. After slotting in the Queen of Pain for a round or two, we're going to peel her out and triple down on the Hunters with Windrunner and Drow on the same board as the Beastmaster, picking up that Hunter buff. And the main reason we're doing this is because we don't have a Phantom Assassin yet, and to go Assassins, you really do need to have that Phantom Assassin build around. Right now, that's kind of the core component for that. Every build has, a hero that's really, really essential for you to kind of want to be going for that build early, and without her, even with the other inclinations towards Assassins, we just can't really go for it. That being said, we're going to keep these Assassins benched for a little bit, just in case maybe we get some good Assassins like Phantom Assassin being offered to us. Maybe we could decide to switch off. Okay, so we complete the Hunter set, and we've still got the Goblin Mech set on board as we go to 6 units. So what we're going to do with positioning here is go into a classic corner box in the bottom left corner. Basically, the idea is you making yourself a bit more vulnerable to area of effect, but it's so early in the game it doesn't really matter. But because your units are clustered together, you have a higher chance of effectively focus firing the same unit, which is going to be what Hunters really, really want in the early game. So to kind of define this build specifically, this position specifically a bit more, we've got Windrunner in the very corner because of her power shot. She wants to be off center, so power shot's more likely to hit more units in the back. In the front, we've got Clockwork in the aggressive corner, the middling corner, because specifically he's level 2, he's very tanky, he's got the mech buff and a good amount of health just being level 2, so he's going to be kind of the main tank on this board. Normally that might be Timbersaw, but our Timbersaw is only level 1, so he's actually going to go in the kind of further corner while our Beastmaster is going to be front middle, because Beastmaster just being level 2 is going to be better at tanking. Normally Beastmaster and Timbersaw would be swapped here, but Timbersaw just being level 1 means he can't really tank as much. Okay, so we can go ahead and see this formation play out for a single round. So as we can see, the Bounty Hunter jumps in back, our tanks jump forward, and our Drow and our Windrunner are just kind of focusing down their targets one by one, protected in the back corner. So a nice clean fight. Now, in the very next round, I see 2 Phantom Assassins. This could actually change the way my build paths completely. I'm thinking about maybe going into Assassins. I decided to bench them for now, and if I find a third one, I'm going to pull the plug on Hunters and just dip into Assassins instead. But more pressingly, I actually notice something more important, which is that all of my opponents have very weak boards right now. My board is not typically on average an amazing board, but I'm still in the lead on health. Pretty much everyone's board is losing to mine, and while we don't have a great win streak, our win streak is actually at a pretty small amount right now, just at a +1. I'm actually going to take a very aggressive pump, which is to say spend 15 gold to level up here, basically losing a decent amount of interest to be able to put a 7th hero in this case my Kunkka, which is just going to help me win fights. Now, normally this is something you're going to be wanting to do when you already have a big streak that you want to maintain. But in this situation, I make the decision to be very aggressive about this because everyone else has a very weak board. And I think with this change, I can ensure that my board can be the best in the game. And I can start to develop prematurely a streak that I don't have yet. Bit of a risky play, but keep in mind win streaks are worth more than interest when you can get them to go off, and you can't just look at the power of your own board when deciding how much to commit into early game presence or not. It's really important to look at your opponent's boards. Some games you're going to have a lobby where 3 out of your 8 opponents are going to have really stacked boards, and even if you have an above average board in general, it's not going to be above average in that lobby, and you have to play kind of more passively. You can't really try to go for a streak. In this case, we have the opposite occurring, so I'm going to push hard with my just slightly above average board for the time. So we get to a bit later into the game now, and we don't have the Phantom Assassin. We ended up selling out because we couldn't find the third one, and we're just sticking to the Hunter game plan. It's working out pretty well for us. Not a lot of other people are Hunters, and there's another guy on Assassins anyway, committing for the 6 Assassin build, and it's going to be a little bit harder to go for that. So we're going to stick it through. We're going to go 6 Hunters all the way. We end up finding our 6th Hunter, and we wait a few rounds to put it in because we want to ensure that we have enough frontline. With builds like Hunter, it can be important not to necessarily put in the upgrade from the 3 Hunter to the 6 Hunter right away until you have a frontline that's able to be developed for it to really even function. Mages are kind of similar as well. So first things first, when you have a high damage spike build, your frontline has to come first. And I ended up waiting a few rounds until we put them in, adjusting accordingly. So right after the creep wave on round 26, we have a pretty good shopping phase, complete the Medusa level 2, as well as the Kunkka level 2, ready to kind of adjust our board a little bit. Still kind of fixing for positioning here. Sometimes it takes like a round to get everything sorted, but we managed to get our Medusa 2 up in the front line just in time. This is something that you're going to want to do when your Medusa hits level 2. Our positioning is a little bit off here because we ran out of time. We'll be able to fix it in the next round, but getting the Dusa up more towards the front of the board as soon as she hits level 2 is going to be what you're going to want to do because, of course, the faster she can charge her ulti, the more reliably she can get it off for value. But when she's level 1, you need her more so in the back line so that she's not going to be dying because a level 1 Dusa is just too squishy. So right after that, we have enough time to be able to fix our positioning in this next hero fight. So we can see we mix it up quite a bit. We switch back to the full corner box formation now that we have enough time to do so. And we can kind of break down this positioning for you guys a bit. We have our Medusa front and forward. She's level 2, so she wants to be kind of tanking a little more early, a little bit more aggressively. We have our Windrunner and a Drow still back in the same positions they were from the start. And we've got our Sniper and our Mirana, which are, of course, ranged heroes, but they're a little bit tankier because they're level 2, so they can kind of be on the outer periphery of my corner box. Necro is very squishy. My Necrophos, I'm happy to have him. He's completing my Undead set with Drow, and when you're going Hunters, you always want that Undead pocket. It's going to do very well for you and your potential to burst things down, but until he's level 2, he's got to stay in the center where he's more protected so things can't get to him. You can't have him dying right away. Our Lone Druid is kind of similar. He's just kind of a filler slot right now. Probably going to look to get rid of him later unless we can upgrade him. but because we have an extra slot, he goes there, but a level 1 Lone Druid does need a bit more protection. So the first thing to notice is just like we're protecting our level 1s and kind of keeping our heroes in the front, being the heroes that want to be taking damage, those being Kunkka, Medusa, and Beastmaster. And after that, the game played out pretty much how you'd expect, lots of players dropping as they do at this phase, and our build doesn't really need improving. We're happy just sitting at level 9 looking for the last pieces to finish off our build. Would have been really great to get a Tidehunter early. We ended up finding one really late into the game after all the mage players had been knocked out. Kind of unfortunate. The Naga pocket from Tide and Medusa would have been really good earlier into the game. Would have preserved some health and maybe helped us win top slot in this lobby as opposed to finishing second, which we did. But we eventually did find the Drow level 3, as Hunter builds will pretty much always end up going for, which did help a little bit towards the end. So pretty clean game, nothing super fancy happening here. But as you can see, these early game build paths are completely defining in terms of how an auto chess game plays out. These are the decisions that just lead to the entire rest of the game ending in you winning or you losing. So overall, I think we played pretty clean. A couple of positioning things could have happened a little bit faster, but I got a nice clean second place in the first match of this tournament. And that's it. That is going to be my rundown of the match 1 of the Beat Auto Chess Invitational 2 tournament. And basically, we're going to be running down my other matches in a similar fashion. I just really want to focus on build pathing and these specific key decisions, these timings on like when to choose a specific build or why, that are really going to pave the way and really define the outcome of these auto chess games. I think that as players, most players are looking to improve. These are the key points that you want to focus on, the reason you pick a certain path at a certain time and why. So coming up next, part 2. See you there.